Hello and welcome. This is the sixth and final video in developing the project of electronic labelling, electronic stop labelling for Hauptwerk organs. You've probably watched the first 5, and this will be of interest to you if you've built the project and you're about to start to load the stop text data into the Hauptwerk program for the organ in which you're currently interested. Now you can see here that I've got my console in view. This is a console that on which I originally developed the system, and in fact it's been running since about 2019, and it's got a prototype version of the stop jams installed, and for that reason it will be a weeny bit different from yours, and I'll explain those differences to you as we encounter them. Now the organ's not on. In a moment I'm going to turn the organ on, and what I can do with this organ is I can turn it on in stages, which helps me to illustrate to you how to commission these new features. Now the first thing to do is to turn on the mains, and when I turn on the mains I can turn the audio and the MIDI devices on before I turn on the Hauptwerk computer. And my advantage in being able to do that is that in development I can ensure that all the MIDI devices have started properly before I load Hauptwerk and start it up. So what I'm going to do now is to go over and start the initialization process for the organ. There's a key switch first that I must turn on, and then there is a red switch here, main switch, which I will switch on and then get out of the way so that I can show you the labelling system starting up. I hope you saw that. What we're going to do now is to have a look at what is on those displays. Looking at the top and looking at the left hand stop jam, you can see that there's a notice that declares that these are Hauptwerk stop labels and that I developed them. The version of the software, which is in this case 3.23, you will have 3.6 very likely on yours. You can see that it says we're awaiting the load of an organ, and then moving down here, this is the outermost column of the stop switches and stop labels, and this is the innermost column. So there you see label 1, label 2, label 3, label 4, and the purpose of this is to confirm that all your wiring is correct, because if label 1 appears somewhere other than in that position, L1, then you've made a mistake in the wiring. And we see here that says label 23 and 24 because awaiting organ load is occupying label 21 and 22. And this says here label 41 and 42. So there we are, we have the left hand stop labels. If we go over to the right hand stop jam, here we have the same thing. We have our 2 labels 1 and 2 at the top of the inner column. We have a declaration that these are the Hauptwerk stock labels and the software version. And also, in this case, you'll see if you look at labels 21 and 22, they actually show you your license details, because without your license in your Arduino, these will not run. And we got the same labeling arrangement, so you can see whether you've made any mistakes, and that's the first test passed in this case. What we're going to do now is to start up the PC. There is a very small touchscreen monitor down here. The idea behind my console is that you don't actually need to use a keyboard or a mouse for anything other than configuration. At this stage, we still are down to using a keyboard, mouse or the touchscreen because we haven't started Hauptwerk. So let's start the computer. It says no signal, but if I switch the computer on with that switch there, we will see that the computer will boot. Right, there is the opening screen. We're going to start the computer now. Whilst I put in the password, I'm just going to turn the display off. I've now put the password in and the computer is starting. The computer is now started up. Now, because at the moment we're kind of operating in setup mode so that I can explain all these details to you, I want to just check on the audio device that I use. So I'm just going to bring up its screen, and then I'm going to connect it to the speakers, and you will see it come to life. I'm just this is just set up like this because it's important with Hauptwerk that all of your audio and MIDI devices are properly started before you load Hauptwerk. And you saw there that the MIDI device, audio device, started with a display of some of its configurations. I'm now going to turn on the speakers, which I've done because I can do that remotely through this little controller that I have that allows me to turn speakers on and off. So having done all that, we can now reduce that and we can start Hauptwerk. Hauptwerk is now starting. Now I'm on version 7. It's really interesting. I started in 2006 with version 3, I think. And it's really interesting how as Hauptwerk has got more and more sophisticated, it seems to me to have taken longer and longer to start, notwithstanding the fact that the power of the hardware has increased, the amount of memory and the speed of the data sources such as SSDs has increased massively since all this went on. Hauptwerk is starting, but you know, with version 7, and I've got an i9 processor in here, with version 7, it's interesting that takes 35 seconds on my system before the Hauptwerk screen appears, but I'm hoping that it's going to appear now, or at least any moment. And there we are, Hauptwerk version 7. Okay. Now nothing else has happened as yet on our LCD displays. They are still the same. So let's load an organ. And if you look over here, you can see that St Anne's Moseley is declared to be the cued organ. And I'm loading St Anne's on purpose because everybody's got it. So let's start to load the St Anne's organ. Now, you can see here that we're counting through the installation percentage, and pretty soon this will be set up and you will see something happen. Did you see it? What happened now is in that top central display it says St Anne's Moseley. It also heads the swell division, the grate division and the pedal division, and we're looking at the left hand stop jam, and we can see that we've got there 01, that's label 01, oboe 8 foot, label 02, tremulant, label 03, trumpet 8. And of course what happens is, if I on the swell, let's do it on the grate, if I tap the trumpet 8 on the grate, then hey presto, there we are, you see. So then we can turn it off and now it's silent, right? So that shows it's all working. Now, that's the left hand jam overall. Because the St Anne's organ has actually got just 3 divisions, it's very, very useful to be able to set up our labelling system to replicate the stop layout equally on both sides, so that you, as the organist, can use either hand when you wish to change registrations. Now you can only do this on a 3 or fewer division organ. You can't do it on an organ with 3 manual divisions and a pedal. You have to divide the divisions between the 2 sides. But when you've just got 3 divisions like this, you can do it. It's very handy. And you can do that with our labelling system, and we will go through that in due course. Well, now we're ready to see exactly how we put those stop labelling texts into the system. So we're going to break away from this bit of video, and we're going to now study the Hauptwerk setup system for this purpose. See you in a minute.